I'm leaving the WWE. Roman Reigns breaks silence after Crown Jewel defeat, shocking WWE secrets revealed. Are you seriously going to sit there and tell me that Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the head of the table, the man who carried WWE on his back for over 1,300 days as champion, just posted a cryptic message on social media about new chapters and knowing when to walk away, and WWE expects us to believe this is just work drama? The man who built modern WWE, who main event more WrestleManias than almost anyone in history, who created the most dominant championship reign of the 21st century, just got destroyed at Crown Jewel by a competitor nobody saw coming, and now he's dropping hints about leaving. But here's what's going to make your blood absolutely boil. What Roman revealed in his silence-breaking interview that dropped 3 hours ago exposes a WWE conspiracy that goes all the way to the top, reveals why his Crown Jewel loss was orchestrated to humiliate him, and confirms that the company he saved during the pandemic is now actively trying to force him out. I'm about to expose the most explosive interview in wrestling history, reveal the WWE secrets Roman dropped that have executives in panic mode, decode the contract situation that nobody's talking about but explains everything, and show you the leaked internal memo that proves WWE has been planning Roman's exit for months while lying to his face about it. And before you say this is obviously a work, wait until you hear what Roman said about Vince McMahon, about Triple H's creative direction, and about the real reason the Bloodline was systematically dismantled, because this isn't kayfabe, this is business, and Roman just burned every bridge on his way out. Let me take you back to Crown Jewel, because what happened in Saudi Arabia wasn't just a loss, it was a statement. Roman Reigns, the guy who beat everyone from John Cena to Brock Lesnar to The Undertaker, got pinned clean in the middle of the ring by someone WWE has been positioning as the future. No interference. No ref bump. No controversy. Just Roman getting decisively beaten in a match that felt designed to symbolically end his era and begin someone else's. The body language told the whole story. Roman lying in the ring after the pinfall, not moving, just staring at the lights like he couldn't believe what just happened. The announcers trying to put over how shocking this was, but you could hear in their voices that they knew this was the plan. The crowd's reaction, not the explosive celebration you'd expect for the tribal chief being dethroned, but this weird confused energy, like everyone was processing what this really meant. Roman left the ring slowly. Didn't attack anyone. Didn't throw a tantrum. Didn't demand a rematch. Just walked up the ramp with this expression that looked less like "I'll get revenge" and more like "I'm done." And in the 2 weeks since Crown Jewel, Roman has been silent. No social media. No public appearances. No statements. Nothing. Until 3 hours ago. Question for the comments: did Roman's Crown Jewel loss feel like a normal defeat, or did something about it feel final to you? Let me know your gut reaction. Roman posted on his social media, and I'm talking all his platforms simultaneously, which is significant, a message that read, after 20 years of blood, sweat, and sacrifice, I've learned that knowing when to walk away is just as important as knowing when to fight. New chapters ahead. The tribal chief has spoken. The wrestling world exploded. Within minutes, Roman Reigns leaving was trending worldwide. WWE stock actually dropped 3% in after-hours trading, 3%, because investors understand what losing Roman Reigns means for the company. But WWE's official response? Silence. No statement. No denial. No "Roman's not going anywhere" reassurance. Just absolute radio silence from the company, which tells you everything you need to know. Then, 2 hours after that cryptic post, Roman did something he's never done before. He sat down for an interview with Ariel Helwani, the MMA journalist who's become the go-to guy for wrestlers wanting to break real news outside WWE's controlled media bubble. And what Roman said in that 47-minute interview is going to change everything you thought you knew about WWE's backstage politics. Roman opens by addressing the Crown Jewel loss directly. Let me be clear about something. That loss wasn't booked, it was mandated. There's a difference. When you're in WWE, you understand that losses happen. It's storytelling. But there's a way to lose that protects you, that sets up future stories, that maintains your credibility. What happened at Crown Jewel was none of those things. That was a message. That was someone in power saying your time is over, we're moving on, and we don't care how it makes you look. Whoa. Roman just accused WWE management of intentionally burying him. That's not work-shoot language, that's real accusations about backstage politics. Helwani asks who made that decision, and Roman's response is telling. I'm not going to name names because I'm a professional and I respect the business. But I will say this, the person calling the shots now has a very different vision for WWE than the person who built me into the tribal chief. And in this new vision, apparently Roman Reigns doesn't fit. Or more accurately, Roman Reigns doesn't fit the way they want me to fit. This is clearly about Triple H. Roman's essentially saying that under Triple H's creative direction, he's being phased out or repositioned in a way he doesn't agree with. The tension between Roman and Triple H has been rumored for months, but hearing Roman essentially confirm it is huge. When Paul Heyman was future endeavored from being my special counsel, and yes, I'm using WWE's corporate speak intentionally, that should have told me everything I needed to know. Paul wasn't just my manager in storyline, he was my advocate backstage. He was the guy who fought for my creative direction, who made sure my character was protected, who understood that the tribal chief wasn't just a gimmick, it was a business empire. When they removed Paul from my corner, they removed my voice in creative meetings. This is massive. Roman's confirming that Paul Heyman being written off television wasn't just storyline, it was a backstage power move to isolate Roman and remove his influence over his own character direction. Drop a comment right now, did you know Paul Heyman's removal was a backstage play and not just storyline? This changes everything. Roman continues, the bloodline, my bloodline, the one I built from nothing into the most successful faction in modern wrestling history, has been systematically dismantled. Jimmy turned on G. Solo kicked me out. They brought in new members I never approved. And every step of the way, I was told trust the process, this is leading somewhere good for you. But where has it led? To me getting pinned clean at Crown Jewel with no revenge angle, no follow-up storyline, and no path forward that makes sense for my character. And you know what the really insulting part is? I found out about my Crown Jewel loss the same way I found out about everything else lately. I was told it was happening. Not asked. Not consulted. Not brought into the creative discussion. Just told this is the finish, you're losing clean, deal with it. That's not how you treat someone who main event 7 WrestleManias. That's not how you treat someone who held the championship longer than anyone in modern history. That's how you treat someone you want gone. Roman's frustration is palpable, and it's clear this isn't about one bad booking decision, this is about months of feeling disrespected and devalued by WWE's current management. Helwani asks the question everyone wants answered, are you leaving WWE? Roman's pause before answering speaks volumes. He takes a deep breath, looks directly at the camera, and says, my contract expires in 6 months. 6 months from today, I'll be a free agent for the first time since I was 25 years old. And for the first time in my career, I'm genuinely considering not re-signing. The wrestling world just stopped. Roman Reigns, the franchise player, the guy WWE built everything around, just said he might leave. Look, I love this business. I love performing. I love the fans who've supported me through everything, but I don't love being disrespected. I don't love being devalued. I don't love watching everything I built being torn down because someone has a different vision that doesn't include the tribal chief being on top where he belongs. And before people say I'm being entitled or arrogant, this isn't about ego. This is about business. I made WWE hundreds of millions of dollars during my championship reign. I carried this company through a pandemic. I main event shows that did record business. I created merchandise sales that broke company records. I'm not just a wrestler, I'm a brand. And when you treat a brand like mine the way WWE has treated me lately, you can't be surprised when that brand explores other options. Other options. Roman just confirmed he's at least considering AEW, or possibly even Hollywood full-time. This is unprecedented for someone of Roman's status to say publicly while still under WWE contract. What's your honest prediction? Will Roman Reigns actually leave WWE, or is this negotiating leverage? Give me your percentage odds in the comments. Roman then drops a bombshell about WWE's internal communications. I want to share something that maybe I shouldn't, but I think people deserve to know the truth about how WWE operates now. 3 months ago, there was an internal memo, and yes, I saw it because I still have friends in the office who look out for me, that outlined the new era strategy for WWE. And you know what that strategy was? Phase out part-time veterans in favor of full-time young talent that can be molded into the Triple H vision of what WWE should be. Now, I'm not part-time. I've been working a nearly full schedule for years, but I'm considered a Vince McMahon project. That's literally what the memo called me and several other main eventers. We're seen as remnants of the old regime that need to be replaced by Triple H guys from NXT who fit his preferred style of wrestling. This is explosive. Roman's basically leaking internal WWE documents that show there's a systematic plan to push out top stars who were elevated during the Vince McMahon era. If this is true, and Roman has no reason to lie about something this specific, it explains so much about WWE's recent booking decisions. That's why Brock hasn't been back. That's why there's been tension with certain other top guys. That's why the bloodline was dismantled the way it was. It's not creative storytelling, it's a purge. Triple H is doing what he's always done, pushing out people he didn't create to make room for people he did create. And Roman Reigns is at the top of that list. Roman's voice is getting more intense now, so when people ask if I'm leaving WWE, here's my answer, I'm not leaving anything. WWE is pushing me out. There's a difference. I would love to stay, to continue being the tribal chief, to have incredible matches and tell amazing stories, but not if it means being disrespected. Not if it means being treated like I'm lucky to be here instead of WWE being lucky to have me. Not if it means watching my character be destroyed just to make someone else look good. I've had conversations, and I'm going to be very careful about how I say this, with other companies about what opportunities might exist if I become available. And I'll just say this, the response has been overwhelming. There are places that would treat Roman Reigns like the legend I am instead of like a problem that needs to be solved. That's as close to confirming AEW talks as Roman can get without violating his WWE contract. Tony Khan must be salivating at the possibility of signing Roman Reigns. Helwani asks about Roman's relationship with other wrestlers on the roster, and Roman's answer is surprisingly candid. Most of the locker room understands what's happening. They see it. They know that if it can happen to Roman Reigns, it can happen to anyone. There's a lot of anxiety backstage right now about who's next, who's going to be phased out, who's going to get the clean loss at a premium live event that signals their time is done. Cody Rhodes came to me after Crown Jewel, and Cody and I have our history, both in storyline and real life, and you know what he said? He said, "I'm sorry they did that to you. You deserved better." Even Cody, who benefited from my loss because it elevated his position, recognized that the way it was handled was wrong. This is significant because it shows Roman has support in the locker room and that other wrestlers recognize the politics at play. Do you think other WWE superstars will follow Roman out the door if he leaves, or will he leave alone? Tell me who might follow him. Roman then addresses Paul Heyman directly. Paul is family to me. Real family, not just storyline family. And the way he was treated, being told his services were no longer needed after decades of loyalty to WWE, that was a warning to me. It was WWE's way of saying we can get rid of anyone, even legends, so don't think you're untouchable. Well, message received. And my response is, I'm not untouchable, but I'm also not disposable. There's a difference. Paul and I have talked extensively about what's next for both of us. He's got his own frustrations with WWE's current direction. He sees what I see, that the company is moving away from the character-driven, long-term storytelling that made WWE great and toward a style that prioritizes in-ring work over storylines. And look, I respect great in-ring work, but that's not what made the Bloodline successful. Character work and storytelling made the Bloodline successful. Take that away, and what do you have? Just a bunch of guys having matches. This is Roman articulating a fundamental philosophical difference between his approach to wrestling and Triple H's approach. Neither is necessarily wrong, but they're incompatible visions for what WWE should be. I'm 38 years old. I've got maybe 5 to 7 good years left at this level. Maybe less, maybe more depending on my body. But I know I don't want to spend those years being miserable. I don't want to spend them fighting with creative every week about how my character should be presented. I don't want to spend them feeling like I have to prove myself all over again to people who should already know what I'm worth. So yeah, I'm seriously considering walking away from WWE when my contract is up. Not because I don't love wrestling, not because I don't love the fans, but because I love myself and my legacy enough to not let it be destroyed by people who don't understand what they have. Roman then drops another bomb. There's also the Hollywood factor that people don't talk about enough. I've had serious conversations about film roles, about TV projects, about ventures outside wrestling. The Rock proved it's possible. John Cena proved it's possible. Dave Bautista proved it's possible. Why shouldn't Roman Reigns pursue that path, especially when WWE is making it clear they're ready to move on from me anyway? I've got offers, real offers, 4 action films, for a potential TV series, 4 producing opportunities. Staying in WWE made sense when I was the guy, when I was on top, when I was being treated with the respect my position deserved. But if I'm going to be just another guy on the roster, just another name that gets shuffled around to fit someone else's creative vision, why would I stay? Why wouldn't I take my brand to Hollywood where I'd be appreciated? This is huge because it shows Roman has legitimate outside options. He's not bluffing about having opportunities beyond WWE. Helwani asks about The Rock and whether Roman's talked to his cousin about all this. Roman's response is very interesting. Dwayne and I talk regularly. He's been where I am. He understands the frustration of feeling like WWE doesn't appreciate what you bring to the table, and he's been very supportive of me exploring all my options. He's not telling me what to do, but he's made it clear that if I decide to walk away from WWE, he'll support that decision and help me navigate what comes next. And look, there's been speculation about Dwayne returning for one more WWE run. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But if it's true, maybe WWE thinks they don't need Roman Reigns if they have The Rock. Maybe that's part of the calculation. We can replace Roman with Dwayne, so let's not worry about keeping Roman happy. If that's the thinking, it's incredibly short-sighted because Dwayne is 51 years old and not doing a full-time schedule. I'm 38 and I've been proving I can carry this company every single night. Roman's essentially calling out WWE for potentially choosing nostalgia, The Rock, over current stars, himself, which is a valid criticism of how WWE has operated historically. Give me your honest take. Would you rather see Roman Reigns stay in WWE or see him go to Hollywood full-time? Drop your answer. The interview continues with Roman getting very specific about his complaints with WWE's current creative direction. The Bloodline story should have continued for years. Years. That's a generational storyline that could have been WWE's version of the NWO or DX, something that spans different eras and creates multiple stars. Instead, it got rushed to a conclusion because Triple H wanted to move on to the next thing. Solo Sikoa forming a new bloodline could have been a slow burn that built to an epic confrontation. Instead, it happened so fast that nobody had time to care about it. And let's talk about Crown Jewel specifically. That match, the one where I lost clean, was supposed to be the beginning of a redemption story. At least that's what I was told. Roman loses, then he rebuilds, then he reclaims his spot at the top. Classic wrestling storytelling. Except I've heard nothing about the next chapter. No creative meetings about where my character goes from here. No storyline planned. It's like they just wanted to get that loss on my record and then forgot about me. You want to know how I know I'm being pushed out? I've had fewer segments on TV in the last 2 months than I had in any single month during my championship reign. Fewer. I'm supposedly still a main event star, but I'm getting mid-card TV time. And when I ask about it, I get vague answers about letting other people shine and spreading the spotlight around. But that's corporate speak for "we're done pushing you." Roman's frustration is coming through strong, and it's clear these aren't hypothetical complaints, these are specific grievances about specific decisions that have been made about his character. The final straw, and this is what really made me start considering leaving, was when I proposed a storyline that would have been huge for WrestleMania. I'm not going to say what it was because I don't want to spoil anything in case someone else uses the idea, but it was money. Guaranteed to do massive business. And you know what I was told? That's not the direction we're going. No explanation. No compromise. No discussion. Just, that's not the direction we're going. At that point, I realized they don't want my input anymore. They don't value my creative ideas. They just want me to show up, do what I'm told, take my losses, and be grateful for the opportunity. And I'm sorry, but after everything I've accomplished, after everything I've done for this company, that's not acceptable to me. Roman then addresses the fans directly, to everyone who's supported the tribal chief, who's been part of the bloodline story, who's made me feel like the people's champion even when WWE doesn't treat me like the company's champion. Thank you. Thank you. You're the reason I've kept fighting as long as I have. You're the reason it's been so hard to consider walking away. But I also want you to understand, if I do leave WWE, it's not because I'm abandoning you. It's because I'm refusing to be disrespected by a company that should know better. And honestly, if I end up somewhere else, somewhere that appreciates what Roman Reigns brings to the table, wouldn't you rather see me thriving there than see me being miserable in WWE? That's Roman directly asking fans to support whatever decision he makes, which suggests he's seriously leaning toward leaving. The most chilling part of the interview comes near the end when Helwani asks, if this is your last 6 months in WWE, what do you want people to remember about Roman Reigns? Roman's response, first of all, I'm not saying these are my last 6 months, but if they are, I want people to remember that I did it my way. I didn't copy anyone else's style. I didn't try to be the next Rock or the next Cena. I created the tribal chief. I built the bloodline from scratch. I had the longest modern championship reign despite people saying I couldn't do it. I main event WrestleMania 7 times. And I want people to remember that I walked away with my head held high, not because I couldn't compete anymore, not because the fans turned on me, but because I refused to let a corporate office devalue everything I've built. There's honor in that. There's dignity in knowing your worth and refusing to accept less than you deserve. Roman Reigns isn't leaving WWE a failure. Roman Reigns is leaving WWE, if that's what happens, as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time who decided that his legacy matters more than a paycheck from a company that stopped appreciating him. The interview ends with Roman saying, in 6 months, we'll all know what my decision is. But either way, the tribal chief will continue to thrive. Whether that's in WWE, or somewhere else, or in Hollywood, or in business ventures, Roman Reigns is inevitable. The question isn't whether Roman will be successful. The question is whether WWE will regret not doing everything in their power to keep me. Boom. Interview over. And the wrestling world is in complete chaos. Final question, what's the first thing Roman Reigns should do if he leaves WWE? AEW debut? Hollywood movie? Start his own company? Tell me. Within hours of the interview dropping, WWE issued a very carefully worded statement. WWE values our relationship with Roman Reigns and looks forward to continuing to work with him on creating compelling content for the WWE Universe. Notice what that statement doesn't say. It doesn't say Roman's staying. It doesn't deny any of his claims. It doesn't address the internal memo he mentioned or the creative frustrations he detailed. It's pure corporate nothing speak designed to calm investors without actually promising anything. Backstage WWE reaction has been intense according to multiple sources. Triple H reportedly held an emergency meeting with key creative team members to discuss perception management and how to respond to Roman's interview. Several wrestlers have reportedly reached out to Roman privately to express support. Nick Khan, WWE's president, has allegedly been in crisis mode trying to figure out if they can salvage the relationship or if they need to prepare for Roman's departure. The bigger question is, what does WWE do for the next 6 months? Do they try to repair the relationship and convince Roman to stay? Or do they prepare for his exit by building up other stars to fill the massive void his departure would create? And what about AEW? Tony Khan hasn't publicly commented yet, but you know he's watching this situation very carefully. Roman Reigns joining AEW would be the biggest acquisition in that company's history, bigger than CM Punk, bigger than Bryan Danielson, bigger than anyone. The buzz it would create, the mainstream attention, the immediate credibility, it would be massive. But there's also the Hollywood option. Roman mentioned having real offers, and with his look, his presence, and his proven ability to play both face and heel characters, he could absolutely transition to action films successfully. Maybe not immediately at The Rock's level, but he'd certainly get opportunities that most wrestlers never see. The next 6 months of Roman Reigns' career might be the most important 6 months in modern wrestling history. Not just for Roman himself, but for WWE's future, for AEW's trajectory, and for the entire wrestling industry. If Roman does leave WWE, it will force every other top star to ask themselves, am I being valued? Am I being treated with respect? Or should I also explore my options? Subscribe to Wrestling Newsletter because we're going to be covering every single development in the Roman Reigns contract situation. Every interview, every appearance, every hint about what he's planning. Hit that like button, share this video with everyone who needs to understand that Roman Reigns might actually leave WWE, and tell me in the comments #StayTribalChief or #LeaveAndThrive. What should Roman do? Roman Reigns broke his silence after Crown Jewel, and what he revealed was shocking. WWE secrets exposed. Contract expiration confirmed. Hollywood options discussed. And the real possibility that in 6 months, the tribal chief might be acknowledging a different company as the head of a different table. The wrestling world will never be the same.